If you've been gaming for a number of console generations or hardware releases, you'll know the story. Graphics get better, physics get more realistic, worlds get larger, and stories become much more immersive. If you're older like me, you'll probably remember playing through the original Half-Life on the PC, and you'll have seen how the soldiers would behave. They would flank you, they would just be a general pain in your ass, flush you out of cover by throwing a grenade and then try to shoot you to crap. And this was so much more immersive than what we had previously with, let's say, Quake 1 and Quake 2, where, yeah, the enemies would do very simple things, like, for example, if you're shooting at them, they're dark, but they would also just kind of sit there and dark, and it's not exactly very difficult to aim just a little bit lower. So, again, of course, we started to see worlds become a lot more fleshed out, and the next generation of storytelling, basically through the environment. But the world at the moment has just one thing on its mind, and that is AI. AI has been the focus of so many different companies, and Nvidia, of course, are just doing everything but throwing the kitchen sink at the problem. It's not surprising then that they are also at the forefront of working on video game AI. Now, there is a lot of interest, of course, when it comes to video game AI, and this is perhaps one of the more exciting prospects and hints at and glimpses at the future, and that would be ACE. There are several building blocks which go into creating a character that utilizes this technology, as you would imagine. The first is Ndemo. This allows you to create a language-based model which then will be the backstory, lore and detail of that character. For example, we could craft a character who is an old fisherman, and he is the survivor of an ancient disaster which plagued the area long ago. You then, as the playable character, could interact with him and ask him about his life. You could ask him about the area and how it's changed and perhaps what caused the disaster, and so on and so on. Basically, he could be one of many characters who would provide some lore and context of how the world has changed and what your place in that world would be. You can set the character parameters and how you would like the player to interact with them. And this, of course, is then combined with speech recognition, which in this case is RIVA. This allows you to have real-time conversations with the NPC. And you would be able to ask it, for example, how is your day, what quests you have, and so on and so on. And the AI character will be able to understand you, and then, of course, respond again based on Ndemo. But to make all of this work, it needs to actually look, well, realistic. Not only do you need good visuals, but it needs to be animated correctly, and that's where omniverse audio interface comes in. So different facial expressions based upon the emotion, what's being said, and so on can all change. This can be a plugin which runs with UE5 and so on, but like a lot of this stuff, it's still a little early. This tech, along with lots of other cool stuff which we've not mentioned in this video, was shown off at Computex. Now, we first get an idea of what this can really lead to with a short demo made by Convia. This is a startup focusing on just this stuff, creating and deploying these advanced NPCs. And we can see a demo here of Jin. Now, the player can chat with Jin, and, well, as you can see, it's still pretty early. Now, you can definitely poke holes in the conversational style. It still doesn't seem 100% natural. But remember, guys, this stuff is very early. In a few years' time, we'll have a lot more maturity to this tech. Now, this tech particularly is running on UE5, DLSS 3, and RT lighting and shadows on an Nvidia GPU. Now, there are a lot of obvious issues. For example, this is designed to run on current high-end PCs, and of course, consoles, well, they're a thing, aren't they? Not to mention you have other vendors which create GPUs on the PC as well. But this is an excellent proof of concept. I don't think anytime soon this is going to replace voice actor work, but it could, in the longer term, be used to create richer worlds filled with more interactive NPCs. Imagine a game such as, say, Mass Effect. On the Citadel Station, where a majority of the NPCs you interact with, well, they don't really advance the plot a whole lot, but obviously if they were more interactive and had more character, it would help add a lot of, well, realism to the environment, right? But I feel that still important characters would probably still be voiced and more heavily scripted, because at the end of the day, you still need some level of walls around the game. It's going to be very interesting to see how all of this stuff emerges, though. We've seen an awful lot of very cool stuff, actually, from engines like Unreal Engine, MetaHumans, and so on and so on. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what games are like in 3, 5, and 10 years' time. I think we're basically at the cusp now of really starting to see several different technologies come together, and it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Let's say what the PlayStation 6 or RTX 80 or 90 or whatever it's going to be are actually capable of, not just in terms of the visuals but also AI and the interactivity. At the end of the day, having a, let's say, more realistic conversation with a random NPC, let's say if you're playing, let's say, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto or whatever, is so much more immersive. It's going to be absolutely mind-blowing, I think, what the next generation of games is going to be like. And again, this Nvidia tech is still very much early. There are a lot of holes you can poke in it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes from here. This is pretty much the Wild West at this point, and games developers, even players, are really at the cusp of pushing this stuff forward. So it's going to be very cool to see what they all achieve. With that said, guys, take care of yourself, have an amazing day, bye for now.